were talking about your way, I mean, the process in which you started your relocation process. And then I would say that as regards the transitioning process, how did you move? How did you change from being a student, having a student visa, to being a permanent resident? How did that? And within how many years does it take to actually say, oh, I can actually stay in Canada like forever? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So so just like I explained, once you're done with your program and you graduate, you have your certificate, you can apply for your open work permit. Okay. So it's just the work permit that enables you to work for any employer, anybody. It's an open work permit. As I said previously too, if you had a 2 years program, you get 3 years work permit. If you have a 1 year program, if you did a 1 year program, you get 1 year work permit. So you can either apply for that online, or not sure if that still works. You could go to the border, like do a flag pull. I'm not certain if that is still applicable because of a lot of things. But that was the way I got my own. I went with my friends. We just drove to the border, and it's called flag pulling. Actually, you just tell them at the border that you're flag pulling, so they just tell you, okay, go into the US and turn back. Like, it's not like you're going into, like, they're just turning back into Canada. Yeah, so you pay the fee, take your certificate, your transcripts. Those are the two things I remember for now. That was what I took. Yeah. And then you pay your fees, 200 and something the last time I checked. $200 and something, I think was it? Yeah. And then they give you the work permit there, like the hard copy, or you apply online, which takes a few days, if not up to a month right now. Then so now when you have your work permit now and you're working, you now have to think about how to apply as a permanent resident. So the part that is more familiar that I know is through the express entry route. Express entry is another it's another topic entirely. I have a YouTube video on that. It's a little bit complex, easy but complex. Yeah. So let me just see how I can make it a bit
simple.
Okay. So as a student, if you're applying as a student that graduated, yeah, that finished from Canada, and probably wants to apply for express entry, it's advisable to go through the Canadian class. I think it's the Canadian Express class. Experience class. I said express, Jesus. Okay. Canadian experience class. There are different type of express entry. So there's the federal skill worker. That's for someone that doesn't have experience in Canada, and it's probably coming from Nigeria and everything. And yeah, that's a different part. But if you studied here, it's advisable to apply under the Canadian experience class, so CEC. And it's mostly the draws are lower, and there are a lot of advantages for you, but most importantly, you have to have at least 1 year work experience in Canada before you apply for that. So that's why when you get 1 year open work experience, is a bit tight for you.
The 3 years makes sense.
Yeah, because you have to have 1 year work experience in Canada. Now, the kind of work experience is not like a smaller job. It has to be under certain class. A lot of information, but it has to be under certain class. So a professional job, you have to have worked for 1 year. And then when you do that, you go through the express entry requirements, which is writing your Ielts. What else do you do? Writing your Ielts, and then your age and other things. Getting your police reports from all the countries you've stayed in past 6 months. Just all the documents that they require. Put them together. But as long as you studied here, you get points for that. Good points for studying here. The 1 year experience, you get good points for that. And age, of course, if you're younger, you probably get good points too. So even your IELTS, you probably don't have to do like
Sorry, can I ask a question? What do you mean by IELTS?
Oh yeah, so IELTS is the English exam, like it's an English that you have to write. It's an English exam just showing that you're able to communicate in Canada. So it's different
The
section.
fact that you've studied in Canada doesn't count for that.
Oh, unfortunately, no. You still have to write the IELTS. Yeah, you still have to write the IELTS.
That's what people call IELTS, right?
Yes, IELTS. 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 You still have to write it. I'm thinking there was a document I applied for that thing. Oh, that's citizenship. I think that's what. Because I know there is something I applied for that said is either the IELTS or a proof that you studied in Canada. And that proof is either your certificate. So you have to. So I had to put my master certificate. But that's a good question about that. But I think you still have to write the IELTS. That's good. That's a good question.
So you get how many points? Is it okay to ask how many points you had when you did? Because I would think that
it's been so long. I did a lot of research in that, and I feel like things has changed. So I don't want to have to, I feel like this extra century is another meeting entirely.
Yeah, because I know the scores have increased a lot.
Yes.
Yes,
the scores
before now it's like 1,900, 800, that kind of a thing.
Oh no, so for the federal skilled worker, I think the last one they called was 520.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
But that's still high. I think that's really still high for someone that didn't study here and is not. I feel like and the CEC, that's the experience class here. It's so the draws are lesser. They're lesser. So
the draws are lesser, and then you have the potential of getting a higher one.
Yes, and you have the potential of getting a higher. So somehow they are just making it easy for you, like just stay. But people from outside it's really challenging now. It's really challenging. I hope, because they had a pause on it for 2 years. Because of COVID and everything, but they just started it. So I'm hoping with time it might go down to the 400s, but I feel the 400s are still reasonable. But that 520 something, man, I was shocked. It was a lot. Yeah, it's really a lot. The points is we have to really detail it. So
that would be another one.
Yes, yes, just to be safe, so I don't give false information. I'll need
to another question will be, after you got your PR, how many years do you have to wait to get your citizenship, or is it the same?
So there's something they call Citizenship Calculator, so some calculator that you can put in your information when you got your study permit, your work permit, and then and the times you've traveled and how long you stayed, and they kind of calculate it. I don't want to just speculate, like people just say, oh, you just have to stay for 2 or 3 years. There's a way they calculate it. So just to be safe, maybe if you stay 2 years, you can put your information in the calculator and see if you're eligible. So they'll tell you in so months you'll be eligible to apply. Yeah, they'll tell you, oh, you are not eligible. I think it's 500 or something. There's a way to calculate it. Yeah, for them to have a calculator for it, you can't just guess it. They calculate it. So I don't want to have to speculate, but relatively around 2 to 3 years, maybe. Yeah. You can
so
check
in total, is it possible to say, do they calculate the time you studied, or they start calculating from when you start your work permit?
I think, good question. I'm not certain, but I know I had to put in work permit mainly, not study permit. But I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
applied
because I was
mine
just
like in
thinking.
December last year, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just
Yeah,
to be
so I'm
safe.
thinking it
I'm not
should be
certain.
like 5 years approximately, and somebody could actually say they can boast about being a citizen of Canada.
I think that
Yeah,
you
five
could
years
say
after the
that. That's
study.
fair. Yeah,
That's
if
fair
you don't
enough.
travel so much,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like I traveled a lot too, so yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Annabelle wants to ask a question.
Okay, Esther, I have one more question for you. What's the thing with dependent? Dependent, I think that's what it is. So when maybe you have a husband or you have children, at what point can you bring them into Canada to be eligible to live with you? As maybe do you have to be a citizen or you still have to be a permanent resident? What level can you bring them in?
Oh, so you're coming as a student, you're asking when you can bring them in?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're
Yes.
coming, okay.
No, I'm coming as a student.
Okay. Some people are actually lucky to apply, even with a study permit. You can actually apply with your spouse, and then your spouse gets a work permit. I don't know why it's just hard to get it from Nigeria for some reason. It's just, but it's possible. I know people that actually came with their wife
Family.
and 2 kids to study. Yes, and the wife had an open work permit and she could work. So that's very possible. Because I mean, I feel like it's really long to have to first study and then now apply for express entry before they come. It's hard, right? Or when you get your work permit, you can also apply for work permit for your spouse as well, maybe online, and when they get it, they can apply for their visa. That is also possible. Or just wait till you do your permanent residency, include them in the application, and then they get a permanent residency altogether. Or get a permanent residency first, then I think there's something they talk about sponsorship. I think that takes like a year or so. That's
But
a long
that's long
process.
thing.
Yeah.
That's waiting for, they will have to wait for you to complete all those steps.
Yeah.
I
But
think
some
it's
people
better
do
when
that.
you.
Yeah, because some people do that when maybe their point gets really low when they include their spouse. They could first, okay, let me just get it first and then sponsor, I really don't know how the sponsorship process works. But they said it's about a year or so. I'm not certain. I haven't done my research, but so I heard it's like a year to sponsor them. Yeah. But if for some reason they come to visit you, just drive to the border and get your work permit or apply work permit from them, and they don't have to go back. They could work. As if you don't apply with them coming.
Yeah. Okay. Deborah.
I just wanted to add this so people don't misunderstand when they are watching this, that you have to have all your documents ready before you can just go online to apply, because for her it was quite easy because she had the documents ready. So you just think that you just go online and then start doing things on your own. You have to have things ready. That's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So if you need your transcripts, your SSC, your YX certificate, your English text exam results, what else do they ask for? All those other, your bank statement. So for applying for uni, you probably just need the basic SSC results and some other stuff for, like, if you're going for a BSc or first degree, so I would think. And you can check for the requirements and ensure that you have everything ready before actually submitting an application, because obviously you want to like upload everything that is required. So make sure you do your homework. And if it is for like masters, you have to have your BSc certificates, you have to have all the requirements, your reference letters, everything is required basically. So make sure you tick the box. And then I believe that you can also start an application, save as a draft, and come back to it later, because I think there's always a sign in and sign out process. So you can start an application and save it. So you don't have to sit down and finish it at a go. So you can start an application, save it, and come back the next day and then continue from there. But make sure you watch out for the deadlines. That's another thing I will say. Make sure you watch out for the deadlines so that you're not saving an application and coming back and the deadline is closed or something, and then you miss on that opportunity. So yeah, so we will still end this conversation here. If anybody has any other question, anybody has any question before we go?
Yeah, I also want to say that don't be afraid to ask questions to the university. So they have admissions office email and all. If you don't understand something or you have a document that you're not sure or something, you can always email them. That's why they are there, admissions office. So in all the websites, you should see an office there or the department email. Just email them and ask any question that you have. They'll be able to answer you.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's still so much to talk about, but we'll have this in series and then we would come again. For example, the express entries is another long one entirely to tell you how to start, the calculator to use, and every other thing, the points you talked about and everything, how probably you can manipulate it and try to see, how you can fit in, maybe you would go first or something, and so many other stuff. I think Esther will come back and talk to us about this later after she had done her research. I'm going to leave that research for her after she's done her research. But yes, if you have any question, we'll put our email in the description box. And also we will have, Esther also has a YouTube channel and she has 1 or 2 videos on my immigration as well. So I will have that. I'll put that in the description box. And if you have any question, just send an email and we would try and find answers for you or give you or refer you to websites, Canadian websites, where you could actually get your answers. Note, we are not legal professionals. We are not immigration personnel or anything. Yeah. This is just based on experience. This is just based on what we have learned while actually going through the process. So thank you so much. And this is where we'll end this conversation.